Curt Schilling's a well-known conservative. Now, of course, since he's a conservative, he's going to be a giant hypocrite. Well, we did a story earlier about how he took government money for a private business that he was doing, and then, of course, ran it into the ground. They don't know anything about business. These right-wingers, they always like, oh, we know business. And then they always go bankrupt, like Donald Trump gone back. His companies have gone bankrupt 4 times. I just took advantage of the law. Why didn't you take advantage of the law and actually make money instead of losing money? Anyway, so Curt Schilling's been in Twitter feuds before. He tried to debunk evolution on Twitter. I should have earned some sort of Darwin Award. No, I got this, dude. I got this, man. And how did a banana get its shape? That was under 140 characters. Got you. So convenient for man. Oh, that wasn't about that God didn't do that? Oh. Hey, so this is the kind of nonsense that he normally does. Well, this time he thought, well, this will be safe. I'll go after Muslims. Everybody hates Muslims in America, right? I'll compare them to Nazis, of course. So here's what he tweeted out. The math is staggering when you get to the true numbers, and the picture says, it said only 5 to 10% of Muslims are extremists. In 1940, only 7% of Germans were Nazis. How'd that go? With a picture of Adolf Hitler. Okay, so there's a great number of issues here, obviously, with this. Now, if you're not familiar with Curt Schilling, he was, to be fair to him, a legendary pitcher for the Red Sox, among others. He should probably stick to what he's good at, which was pitching and then talking about sports. And he's got a contract with ESPN, and that's going to become an issue in a second. But, okay, let's bother to debunk what he's saying for one quick minute here. This is the problem with people talking about some Muslims, not all Muslims, some Muslims. Because then they'll throw out stats like this. Maybe you don't throw out a stat like this, but it opens the door for the people like Curt Schilling to be like, I didn't say all Muslims. But, 5 to 10% of them. Oh, by the way, who reported that it was 5 to 10% of Muslims are like the Nazis? Or in the words of this, are extremists. And you compare them to Nazis, so extreme. 5 to 10% of Muslims are so extreme, they're like Nazis. That's the analogy. Who said that? Who reported that? Nobody reported that. That's made up, right? It's from the internet with a lot of people, some with good intent, some with bad intent, who are like, oh, the Muslims, same Muslims, same Muslims, same Muslims. I see, 5 to 10%, I don't know, whatever. Throw out a number. 1.6 billion people, so I guess, 10% of that is 160 million people who are like Nazis. But what, just say Muslims, same Muslims. I didn't say all Muslims. You said all Muslims, not me, not me. I just said 5 to 10%. So I feel like I've heard that somewhere else before. Now, Max Fisher at Vox bothers to go a little bit further, and he says, like, here might be some difference between the Nazis and Muslims. For example, ISIS are actual extremists. Yes, they're Muslim, but you know who they kill? They kill other Muslims. You know who fights back against them? Other Muslims. The problem with the Germans was that they fought for the Nazis. They didn't fight against the Nazis. The Nazis didn't kill other Germans. And there wasn't inter-German fights between the Nazis. Most of the Germans who weren't Nazis were like, okay, where do we sign up? How do we support you? But here, for example, in the issue of ISIS, who are radical extremists, those are the guys you should be mad at. They're fighting against other Muslims. Oh, what are the Muslims doing? Fighting ISIS, that's what they're doing, right? Okay, maybe not those guys, not all Muslims, but, some Muslims. Okay. I honestly thought that ESPN would not do anything here. Now, ESPN is super touchy. They'll suspend you for sneezing the wrong way, right? But I thought in America, it's so standard to go after Muslims that they wouldn't think twice about it. I'm really happy to report that my initial reaction to that, which I didn't have to tell you, that was what I thought in the morning. I never said it on air, right? But I'm sharing it with you because I want to also say, hey, people sometimes surprise you in a good way. I'm happy to report that ESPN did care. And apparently they talked to Curt Schilling in strong language, telling him this is not acceptable. We don't say this about other people, no matter what their race, religion is. The network said the tweet was unacceptable and that it made that point very strongly to Curt. All right, well, God bless him. And ESPN said Schilling was removed from the Little League World Series assignment pending further consideration. Now, look, I think that I'm even too soft on this because I don't want the guy fired. He's a knucklehead in every way, but maybe I'm just too soft, but okay, he has loathsome opinions about Muslims in general. So do a lot of people in the country. I don't want them all fired, right? And then, of course, now that he sees, oh, no, oh my God, my contract's on the line. Oh, my money, please don't touch my money. He comes back with this apology. I understand and accept my suspension, 100% my fault. Bad choices have bad consequences, and this was a bad decision in every way on my part. So, okay, it's a good apology. I don't care who wrote it, if it was a PR guy. I don't care why he did it. Good. Apology accepted. I accepted on behalf of who, I don't know, right? But, okay, fine. But let's just note for the record that if he had said it about other people, he would, of course, be immediately fired, right? If he had said 5–10% of Jews are like Nazis, does anyone think you wouldn't be fired? 5–10% of blacks are like Nazis? 5–10% of conservative Americans, Republicans are like Nazis? Anybody think he doesn't get fired in any of those situations? You know. Okay, and for the people who say, he didn't say all Muslims, right? Okay, let's see if we can draw that distinction. If you say to people, hey, you got to point out how dangerous the Jews are, and you say, whoa, that sounds uncomfortable. That doesn't sound right. You say, well, I didn't say all Jews. I just said some Jews are the problem. And if you don't do something about that problem, then you're part of that problem. You got to do something about the Jews. I didn't say all Jews. I'm saying just some Jews. How horrific does that sound? How terrible does that sound? Why doesn't it sound just as bad to you when it's about another religion? The problem isn't the issue of the religions, whether they're right or wrong. I don't believe in any of them. The question is, what do you say about a whole group of people that happen to be born into that faith? And what Curt Schilling said is obviously unacceptable. It will have some repercussions, and that's good, but probably won't have very large repercussions beyond this. And again, I could be wrong on this. And you know, no matter what you claim and how fervent you are in your ideology, you know that if he had said it about another group, it wouldn't even been close. He'd have been fired almost immediately.